Okay, so you have done all kinds of editing, and we need to get those big, beautiful photos that you've just made in Lightroom somewhere other than a screenshot. Screenshots are not exporting photos. Screenshots are generally low resolution PNG files, and they serve their purpose. They show you what's going on the screen. But in terms of a photograph that we're going to either share or print, they don't quite cut it. So I want to show you this step here, and we're going to do exporting. I'm going to show you a little bit about creating a virtual copy if you want to do the ultimate before after, or you need to do some other adjustments on the same photo. You actually turn one photo into two photos, and finally how we're going to print these. And when we do the exporting, we'll talk about watermarking as well. So you can see I have a collection of photos down here, and I need to export these so I can use them, either put them on, in this case, our yearbook site for use in the yearbook, or put them on our SmugMug site, which is a gallery that we have for all the stuff that we do in the school here. And again, I've already selected these with a P key, so I have all my files ready to go. Now, when you get to export, you can do a couple things. If you have all your photos from a photo shoot and you want all those photos exported, it's Command A to go ahead and select all the photos in that film strip or that collection, and then we can export the whole thing. If there's just one or two that you want to export, then all you need to do is we'll do Command D to deselect, and then we can go back to one photo, or we can hold down the Command key and we can click on photos that aren't next to each other on the film strip to export just those photos. All right, so I've just selected a few photos here, and I'm going to go ahead and go through the export process. So you want to be back in, it really doesn't matter if you're in Develop or Library for exporting. It'll work the same way, because you can access that export function through File, but the easiest way is just right click on the photos that you selected, and we're just going to choose Export. And we're just going to go right up here to the very top and say Export, and now our export box comes up on how we're going to do this. Now, I have to specify where I'm going to save this for the first time. So I'm going to go ahead and just say that we're going to put it in a folder called, we're going to put it on the desktop. And I have to choose, now if I leave it, it's just going to create untitled exports. I'm going to go ahead and create a subfolder. You can call your subfolders anything you want. I'm just going to call this something that I recognize, so when all those files get on the desktop in this folder, I'll be able to find it quickly. Next thing is file naming. We're going to leave that. We're not exporting video, so we're all good there. Quality at 75%. Make sure we're doing JPEG. We're not going to limit the file size. Those are all good. Sharpen for screen, amount standard. We're going to leave it. And we're all done there, and all we have to do is click on export. And it's going to export the 4 files. And those 4 files will end up on our desktop. So there you can see the progress bar. Depending on the size of your files, it may take a little bit of time. So what Lightroom's done is it's taken all the changes that you've made, and it has exported those into a folder. Now, before I go into that folder and show you the photos we've just exported, let me just show you one other trick you can do here. And I'm going to go back to this photo, and it's called a virtual copy, because some people are wondering, hey, how can I show up like the ultimate before and after, the photo I started with to the photo I ended with? Or maybe you just want to do something else with that photo. What Lightroom can do is, if you right click, here's our old export down here, we can create a virtual copy. And what that's going to do is it just makes a copy in Lightroom, but it doesn't actually copy the file. It just copies all the stuff you did to that file and gives it a different name in Lightroom. So we have 1 of 2 and 2 of 2. You know, for instance, if I wanted to take that this photo and turn it black and white, I really wanted to have both photos. Sometimes when we've sent photos to sports people, they do ask for them, especially for Snowball. We have a visiting team come in. Mount Vernon had us create like a media package this year for them and send it off. We just go ahead and prepare usually a high resolution and a low resolution folder so they can go ahead and pick which ones they want on the web or which ones they want to print or do something else with. In this case, I've turned it black and white. I have two copies here of the same picture. So if we're doing an assignment, you may even find that you take one photo can turn into two photos that you turn in, depending on what you want to do. One other thing you could do is we can create another virtual copy here. Let's do that. Okay, so one more. I could go ahead and do a reset on this virtual copy. And now I have the original photo. So here was the one I edited. Here was my when I changed to black and white, the virtual copy. And here's a virtual copy which I've reset for the original photo. So if you're going to do the ultimate before after, I usually don't ask for a lot of before afters in the future, but for some reason if I did, or you wanted to show what changes you made, that's how you would have to do this. And remember, this is the only way to get photos out of Lightroom, because they're not, Lightroom doesn't do anything to your originals. All right, let's do another export here, and I'm going to come back and pick a different photo that we didn't export and just show you one other feature for exporting here. If I right click on this, and we're going to say export again. For turning photos in, you do have a feature of, or if you just want to put some words on this photo, you do have a feature here called watermarking. And what watermarking is it puts some words or some symbol or a copyright that you choose on the photo somewhere. So if I come in here and I'm going to say there's a simple copyright, don't do that one. But if I go to edit watermarks here, I went ahead and created a watermark on this, and it'll give you a preview of where that is. It's right down at the bottom down here. And what we're doing with that is we went ahead and made some changes in the watermark's effects. So I changed how much you can see the watermark. There would be 100% opacity. Here would be 0. I pick it somewhere because I don't want it to be obtrusive. In fact, I really don't like watermarks, but if we're going to do some assignments and you want your name on them, this is the best way to do that. Or you could put other words on them. It's all up to you. It just gives you more flexibility here. We won't talk about putting a graphic on there. This just shows you where I've decided to put the watermark. I've decided to put a shadow on it. The offset radius and angle is where it's positioned. I've told it to go down the bottom corner. I can change where that is. You got a lot of different options. You can play with that. You can see where the watermark is. If you go over top of it, you can make it bigger. Like there's a huge watermark. That would really wreck the photo. Remember what watermarks are for. Watermarks are so people don't copy your photos, or you can identify you in the photo in some way. So you can even click and drag on that. And I can go ahead and say save. You do have to give it a new name each time. I'll just call it watermark 2 because I made some changes in that. I'll say create. And I'm going to go ahead and put a watermark in this. So I'll say at this point I'm going to export this again. It's going to go to the same folder as Lightroom is including that marking on there. All right, well, let's take a look and see what we actually did, and I'll show you how we're going to print these photos as well. Since this is probably we're going to do simple printing to start out with. All right, so let's go ahead and get a new desktop here, and let's find the photos that I took. Here they are in basketball. So double click on that, and here's the photos that I exported. So if I double click on one of these photos on a Mac, it's just going to come up in preview mode. And this is where we're actually going to do the printing here. Is we will do some printing in Lightroom, but just for now, to do a quick 4x6 for turning it in, for an assignment, if I ask it to be printed or put up on the wall, we're just going to go ahead and take that photo, and this is had all the edits put in it from Lightroom. If we go back and take a look at, here's our last one we did, and here's that watermark down at the bottom. So these photos are now out of Lightroom. They can be taken and put anywhere that you want them to go. They can be uploaded to any social media site. They can be put in your Google Photos, which is what I suggest you're going to have to do. Is you're going to have to take these photos if it's for a specific assignment. We start photo shoots tomorrow, or our next photo shoot assignment. These are all going to be put into a Google Photos album. They can just be dragged and dropped up there. So now we've kind of done the whole thing with Lightroom. Now we've put photos into Lightroom. We've done a bunch of editing in Lightroom, and now we've taken those photos out of Lightroom. So you are set to go. Your Lightroom editing and abilities with the library are complete enough that we can start working on some more advanced photography assignments and some more advanced Lightroom assignments.